Thank you. So welcome, friends and family. I believe everyone here today knows me. If not, I'm Tessitaya Gabriel. I'm the Executive Director of Pathways to Peace. And here today, I am just thrilled and honored to introduce all of you to my extraordinary colleague, partner, and friend, Marvin Peake. Marvin, you can wave your hand. So we're not going to bring you in quite yet, but we want people to be able to see you. And we're just so grateful that you're here. But before we enter into the conversation with Marvin, I'd like to invite my peace brother and president of the Pathways to Peace Council, David Wick, to share a few words. David, I'm giving you the floor.
Thank you very much. And I'm just delighted at this moment that we're together and welcome Marvin. And thank you for what is to come and who you are. And I just would like to share a couple of things that as many of you know, Pathways to Peace is fundamentally about co-creating a culture of peace. Culture of peace in our cities, in our communities, in our homes, within ourselves, within the world. And there's a fundamental call to action that we've had for many years from Ava Madison, who is the co-founder with Joni Hardelli of Pathways to Peace. I've been with Pathways since 1980. But since the very beginning, the call to action that Ava expressed was acting in concert. We do make a difference in the quality of our lives, our institutions, communities, and our planetary future. Through cooperation, we manifest the essential spirit that unites us amidst our diverse ways. It's a call to action, and it's also a challenge. And Marvin makes it gives us a pathway forward where we can achieve this and step forward individually. And here's an expression of what he's saying. Absolutely nothing can stop you, so bring it on. Now let's go on this journey to the other side to see what life looks like out of the tunnel. So Marvin, lead us on out of the tunnel.
Yes, yes. And thank you. And David, in addition, we want to honor that our co-founder, Joni, is here, and she is going to just say a few words toward the end of our time together. So as we do at Pathways to Peace, before we begin our conversation, we take a moment to center ourselves and come into our heart. And so we'd like you to just breathe a little more slowly, a little more deeply, and just focus on the center of your chest, that seat of the heart. And allow that slow and deep breath to come in and out of that beautiful sacred space. That space of peace, of love, of joy, of compassion, kindness, harmony. That place of peace. And as we breathe together, the one heart and the one breath, we feel that connection to all that is, all that was, and all that is evermore. And now let us bring our open hearts and open minds back into this physical space. Thank you. We'd like to invite you to put your questions in the chat during our time together. We will allow some time at the end for Marvin to address your questions. So here we are. Let me begin our conversation with Marvin's very brief bio. Marvin Peake is an international speaker, transformational strategist, serial entrepreneur, humanitarian, and has been officially recognized as an ambassador for peace with the Universal Peace Federation. Excuse me. After serving in the US military and a 6-year tenure with the FBI, Marvin built several multi-million-dollar contracting firms, created nationwide community development and economic programs, and expanded his philanthropic work through the United States and across the globe. Marvin studied with some of the world's most prominent public figures in modern history, including Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. Deepak Chopra, Dr. Wayne Dyer, Dr. Donnie Epstein, Master Stephen Cove, and Tony Robbins, with whom he traveled the world, speaking to audiences in the tens of thousands. Marvin honed his foundational, organizational, and leadership skills as a youth leader and logistics strategist for the iconic Million Man March, one of the largest campaigns and highly attended events in history. Having unlocked and simplified breakthrough principles behind the laws of attraction, Marvin shares his inspiring story of poverty to prosperity and offers winning solutions to the masses in the areas of personal development, business, community, and societal transformation. And as you all know, Marvin's lifelong passion is uniting humanity, ending world poverty, and helping others to master the science of success and live the art of fulfillment. So again, in your invitation, you know now that Marvin has just written a book that will be released in July. And he offered to people in the Pathways to Peace Network free copies of that book. So if you haven't yet sent to me your full name and address for a free copy of the book, please put that information in the chat. And we promise that we will get you your copy. That offer is only extended through today. So we encourage you to respond quickly. So Marvin, here we go. I've been waiting for us to have this conversation for a while and to really share who you are with our community of colleagues, family, and friends. So I'm going to ask you some questions, really just to prompt your thinking, but please don't be limited by my questions, because what I really want is for you to be able to share with us whatever you'd like to tell us and whatever's on your heart. So I'm going to turn the floor over to you. I'm going to spotlight you. Takes me a moment. I'm doing both the techie and the plain moderator. And so let me bring you in and spotlight you. And I am going to begin with my questions. Is there anything you'd like to say before I begin asking my questions, Marvin?
Yeah, first and foremost, thank you all so much for inviting me. I'm honored to be here. This is such a wonderful group. I can feel the energy resonating. My frequency is growing by the moment, by the minute. And thank you again. I really appreciate it. I look forward to serving you today and going forward. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Good, thank you. So my first question, again, for you, it's not really a question, but without giving away a lot of what's in your book, please share with us some of the stories from your history that have most informed who you are today.
I never intended to write this book. I would always get the question wherever I was traveling with Tony Robbins and out in community events, speaking at different programs. I'd always get the question, do you have a book? No, you should write a book. And I would always blow off that, thank you so much, I'm humbled, grateful, but I never would. So one day I was speaking at a program in Times Square, and there was a lady in the audience who had come up to me afterwards, and she said, hey, I was so inspired by your words. I was so moved. And I don't know who you are. I don't know what you do, but I think the world needs to hear from you. She says, do you have a book? I said, no. And I'm thinking in my mind, there we go again, another book, book. So she says to me, she says, hey, we're gonna have intermission. Would you go to lunch with me? And I said, no, thank you. I honestly thought she was hitting on me. And so she said, well, if you change your mind, here's my card. So I took the card and I put it in my pocket, and there was a whole group of people gathered around me asking questions and talking. And I just needed a moment to get away. So to deflect the crowd a little bit, I reached in my pocket, pretending as though I was looking for something. And I pulled out the woman's card, and it said, Practical Intuition, The Circle, Laura Day. I just blew off one of my favorite authors. I had seen her on TV. I'd purchased several copies of her book, Practical Intuition, especially The Circle, and I'd given hundreds of the copies of that book away because of what The Circle represented. It represented unity, oneness. It represented connecting to the universe and resources that are around you to create the life that you desire to live, that we're all inextricably connected. And I was so blown away by that book. And I said, I want to give this book to everyone. I just didn't know what she looked like. So I'm walking through the crowd trying to find this woman, and she had a bigger crowd around her than I had around me. So rudely, I just busted through, wait a minute, you're Laura Day? And she says, yes, I am. I said, wait a minute now, are you really Laura Day? She says, I am. Now, will you go to lunch with me? Well, of course I will. we go to lunch, and she cut right to the chase. She said, when you were speaking, I saw angels behind you. I also saw my ancestors, and they were communicating with me. She said, Marvin, do you know what I do? I said, you're some kind of intuitist or something. You interpret. She said, yeah, for the lack of a better a term, yeah, we'll go with that. She says, well, my ancestors were telling me that you are going to be in my life for the rest of my days on this earthly plane. She says, I'm going to take you home and introduce you to my husband. I later found out her husband, Stephen Schiff, the guy who produced Star Wars. My son and daughter, which are now your niece and nephew, have 7 homes all over the world, and now they're your homes. She says, now, you play your cards very close to your chest. In fact, you're pretty much like the vanguard of privacy and secrecy. But I know why you don't talk. Because it's a way that you've been protecting yourself. You've always grown that way, getting through the difficulties in your life. So being quiet was your shield. She says, but Marvin, the world is suffering. And the world is going to continue to suffer until you tell your story. And if you don't, I am going to consider you very selfish. Well, family, I had never in my life been called selfish. Sometimes, I don't know if this is a fault, but I'm going to use it. I give away so much to a fault. I'm always looking to give, because I learned a long time ago from Deepak Chopra that the secret of living is giving. So giving, I'm come here as a servant to serve. Everything in existence is here as a servant, from the sun that shines on us, that gives us light, life, and energy, the water that sustains us, the air that we breathe, and everything around us is a servant. You can call that wonderful introduction, Tez, that you gave me. It's beautiful. I forgot who wrote it, but it's good. I love it. But all those wonderful things and titles and things, nothing is more important to me than that of a servant. Because if I can't serve you, you don't need me. And there's no reason for me to be here in this dimension, on this planet, because what I have to give was given to me for the sake of others and not just myself. And so Laura Day said to me, the life that you lived was not just for you. You had a cosmic curriculum that was put in you before you came here so that you could share it with the world. And holding back that story does not serve the world, and it does not serve you. I'm going to stay on you like a sponsor, and I'm going to make sure you get this book out. Well, this was back in 2016. We just finished the book, I think in August of 2022. When I met Laura, I was just coming out of a relationship, my very first girlfriend. And I was kind of divinely manipulated, as Laura divinely manipulated me into doing this book, into having a romantic partner. I remember Tony Robbins saying to me, you've accomplished some great things in life. You're amazing, but you won't know the half of what you can do until you have a mate, someone that can challenge you, because you've done all this on your own. And you've mastered the science of success. But in order for you to understand and master the art of fulfillment, there has to be someone there that challenges every aspect of your existence. You have to have a worthy opponent in order for you to be a superhero. It's in you, but it will never come out as long as you're doing it as an individual. And so I'm listening to that, and I'm thinking, man, I was afraid of relationship. So now to get back to your question, Tess, I grew up in what they call the hood in America. It's the hellhole ghettos, the projects, the streets, the slums. That's drug infested, crime infested, gambling, police brutality. I was even a victim of police brutality a couple times. Before there was a George Floyd promoted to the world, I was a 14-year-old kid where the police had slammed me on the concrete ground, put their knee in my back, and a gun behind my head looking for a microphone that I did not have. So when I would hear the sirens in the neighborhood, that was like our symphony, because we heard it day and night. It was no big deal. You know, the sirens are going off, the police are chasing people again. I was running to school, and because I was late. And the police just came up on the curb and slammed into the fence, jumped out, guns drawn, slammed me to the ground. Where's the microphone? Where's the microphone? And so there was an old lady, I could hear her, and I'm just crying. and she says, that's a baby, let the baby up, let him up. He didn't do anything. And then I could hear the radio calling them out. And the police officers got up, jumped in their car, and they sped off. Yeah, I had, my clothes were already dirty, and I didn't have clean clothes coming up. I was homeless. I didn't have anywhere to sleep, so I didn't have a way to clean my clothes. So it was already dirty. Now I got holes in the knee parts of my pants, bleeding, blood coming down my legs. And I walk to school and shaking my head, and I go in to tell the teachers, like, boy, I don't want to hear that. Go sit down. It was so common in the neighborhood that whenever you face some kind of violence, especially police brutality, they assumed that you did something wrong. And no one wanted to hear it. No one wanted to listen. So with all the horrific things that happened with George Floyd, at least now I see that we have evolved where people are paying attention now. Because if you've never experienced anything like that, you have no idea. And now it's exposed to the world that this has been happening for hundreds of years for people that look like me. It's funny how I ended up on the other side in law enforcement, but you have to get the book to get the rest of that story. So I go through homelessness and I learned to hustle. I had opportunities to be a drug dealer, but I was an athlete. So some of the drug dealers would protect me from getting in trouble. You were too good. You were too good of a fighter. I boxed and played basketball. You're too good for that. You're a smart kid. Get out of here. Get out of here. So in a way, they were protecting me. And I had a cousin who was a pimp and another cousin that was a leader of a gang. So whenever I needed money, they would say, take the money, but I was too ashamed to take money from people because I was trained that you have to do something or you're obligated or indebted to someone if you take something from them. So no matter how badly I wanted and needed something, I would always say no and find a way to get it myself. I tried to go out and work and ask for jobs, but the way that they treated me. Remember at one interview, the supervisor, the manager there, he looked at me and he said, boy, if I tell you to go in that bathroom and you clean that expletive, that's what you darn sure better do. Why is this man talking to me like that? And so I'm thinking, okay, well, no, I don't think I need to get a job. I need to go back my hustle. So my hustle was playing basketball, one-on-one, it's hard to gamble when you're playing team sports, but because I couldn't rely on anyone. My family let me down. My friends couldn't really take care of me. And the only help I had was aligning with some criminal. That wasn't good for me because I thought I was going to be some kind of athletic star. That was my dream. I went to school because I needed to stay warm in the winter times and they were giving me free meals. So I would just eat up, either had breakfast and lunch, and I would make friends. So the book that came out, How to Win Friends and Influence People, before I knew anything about that book, I had learned the art of that, just to get a meal. And so that was my way of surviving. That lesson in the streets, I wouldn't want to go back and do it again, but I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world because I used that training of survival and I was able to transmute that into a system of success when I became an adult and became more self-sufficient and more independent. And it was that kind of training, that kind of drive, that resilience, that determination that made me extremely successful. And I began to build an empire. And when I built this empire, I did it underground. Remember, the gatekeeper of privacy and secrecy. So I started building businesses and putting other people in front, because one, I'm the youngest guy around, and I didn't want anyone to put my name and the way that I look and how young I am to have as many things as I had, because people will come and take your stuff. So if I can stay off the grid and build underground, I will succeed, and I will succeed for a very long time. And I was building and growing and everything that you can imagine, barbershops and beauty salons and cafes and limousine business and security companies and martial arts schools. I got into government contracting and getting government contracts and nonprofit organizations, and I'm putting all, and I never put anything in my name. So what I would do when money would come in, I was able to get a bank account. I would have that money go into the account and go in every week and take, at that time, you could get about $8,000 to $10,000 and not have to sign anything for it. So I would just take cash and I would just stockpile cash, and I would set up safes all over America and I would hide them. And whenever I went to a particular city where I had a program or an office or a business, I would go and just open up and just look at all the cash and all the gold and diamonds and gold. And no one knew that I had this stuff. I would show up at meetings and show up at events that I organized, and no one knew that I was the brains behind it. So, except for the people I had appointed, I was hiding in plain sight. I even changed my name for protection. I learned a lot from the FBI. We'll get into that at another time. You have to read the book. So, as I'm doing this and staying underground, serving, I ended up helping someone who had come to a health event, a health fair that I had. And this woman comes in and she has her child, and I helped her. I helped her with housing. I helped her with employment. And I sat just as I would anyone else. I don't want to give away the story, but I wound up in court. And when I wound up, when I was in court, my identity was exposed. I was no longer off the grid. I was no longer underground. They did, what do you call the legal terminology? When they want to, they get legal rights to go into your stuff. What do you call that? Someone help me.
Search warrant?
Yeah, no, not a search warrant, but whatever. Something
We'll look it up.
Permission from the judge to go into my accounts. And there was quite a bit of money there. Wasn't nearly as much as I had hidden away. But they froze the accounts. They did a forensic study on the money. They thought I was a criminal. They thought I was a drug dealer. And then there was someone staking claim to everything that I had created and really tried to take me down. And it was Tony Robbins who said to me, the only thing that a problem needs is energy to live. He said, stop giving it energy. Release, surrender, let go. He shared with me a personal story. I don't want to give his story. He shared with me a personal story that was similar to what I was dealing with. And while I was in court, in this whole court system behind me, because my attorneys and everyone were coming after me left and right to take whatever they could. And they really took a chunk. I wanted to find love. People were coming out of the woodwork. There was these frivolous lawsuits coming from everywhere. Even the United States government, the United States Department of Veterans Affairs. I'm a veteran. And I had a program where I am serving military families, homeless veterans, providing them with transitional and permanent housing. Had a partnership with Habitat for Humanity, and we built these homes. Every veteran that would come into my program, we charged them a service fee, a program fee. And we wanted to make sure that you're either working, employable, or ready to train to be employable. We wanted to know what your plan was for your life, if you have a family and children. We wanted to make sure that when we serve you, you had an obligation to go back in the community and serve someone else. So this isn't free. When they paid the service fees to us, I would put the money into an escrow account to draw interest for them. That when they graduated from my program, that they would leave not only with housing, employment, and a bank account and clean credit, but they also have a nest egg to start off with. And I did this for every individual in my program. The VA wanted to fight me because they wanted to come in and they wanted me to take veterans and house them and warehouse them. Don't worry about the working and their credit and their ability to take care of themselves. None of it. They're veterans. They fought for us. You have some nerve having a program like that because you're rich. You don't know my story. You don't know where I come from. You don't know what it took to get here. You don't know who you're talking to. I am them. And if someone had given me something for free with no obligation, no responsibility, no accountability, I would not be here now serving these people. So either you get in alignment with me with what I'm doing to instill something in these individuals for themselves and for the world, then you get out of the way. So I will compromise and we will work and we will have common ground as long as we are putting life into these people, because they went into the military to get character and dignity and discipline and resilience. They have not forgotten that. And when you give them something for nothing, they will forget that, and they don't feel the need to do something that they came on this planet to do. And I'm not going to participate in that. So either you're going to do it my way or I'll shut it down. I shut it down, folks. I shut it down. And boy, did they get upset. And then the VA came after me. They come with a huge law firm attacking me. And then I had to go and spend, untold money to fight it back. We ended up winning, but I shut the program down and I ended up giving the VA all the money that they had invested. And I also let them know that the taxpayers are paying hard-earned money for programs like this, and they need a return on their investment. I am put in place as a steward over the taxpayers' monies into these programs. I have a 100% success rate. And all I need is one person who refuses to better themselves, who refuses to submit to the gifts that they came to the planet with all the help and the resources that I'm giving them. All it takes is one person to walk away from that, and I can no longer say that. And I will not let one individual ruin it for everybody else, the thousands of people that I serve. This is something that I commanded from my staff. This is how we're going to do this. And it may be tough. It may be difficult. But after difficulty comes ease. In order for us to have ease, we got to go through the difficulty. We have to go strong because they will appreciate us in the end. We ended up getting great support from Congress, from the White House. They helped a great deal, and we gained a lot of respect. So as I'm going through this, the court fighting the US government, the VA. And now I'm looking for someone that I could trust. Had trust issues coming up when you're abandoned, when you're out there, you're not getting the kind of help and support that you need or you think you need. It's hard to trust. You're quiet and silent because you, any information that you share from where I come, people will use that against you to take, to steal, to rob. I said to myself, before I let all of this go down and let these folks who position themselves as enemies against me to take what I built, I'll give it away first. But I want to make sure that whoever I'm going to give my life's work to, that I can find loyalty and care, that they will be responsible. So the first person that came along, I'm hearing Tony talk to me about, about not knowing the half of what I could do. And I meet someone and boy, right away, I could tell within 3 days that I was going to be taken to the cleaners. And this person really started to wear in on me and started coming really hard. And she was going to finish off the job that the rest of the people had already started. And I'm really beaten up. I'm broken. I'm in this funk. And I don't know how to get out. I've lost confidence in myself. I very rarely had confidence in people, if any at all. I'm scared. I'm too tough and too hard to cry. And all I've ever known is to be resilient. I didn't realize that there was a difference between resilience and resistance. I'll get into that a little bit later. But to push, to fight, if it's not working, do something else. Force it, own it, take control. You are, as Dr. Jude, I love what she says here. She says, we are the universe's microcosmic co-creator of its evolutionary impulse. And I love that so much. It's so beautiful. I didn't have those words, but I believed that I had the spirit, the essence, the power, and in some cases, the wisdom of source, of God, of universe. So I would tell myself that I am a part of the maker, the owner, the cream of this planet Earth, the God of the universe. There's nothing that I cannot do. Condition and training, it's the athlete in me. I refuse to lose. My heroes were people like Sugar Ray Leonard. I would look at the videos of him, and I met him when I was a little kid. And I would see how he would fight when it looked like his opponent was getting the best of him. And he would continue to push and fight until he got the victory. And I would see Michael Jordan carry his team on his back. These men were like Superman to me, and I would sort of channel that kind of fighting spirit, that winning spirit of these men, because success leaves clues. And so my fight and my drive was lost. It was beaten. And I'm down. And I'm seeing everything that I built go away. And it's going away fast. So I'm in Hawaii at a relationships conference. And Tony Robbins, he says to me, things getting better? No. It's all right. Your tears in his eyes. He said, you know, when I first met you, I knew you would be king. The problem is you thought you were already king. but you were a late prince at best with a king's lifestyle. You had no idea what was waiting on you. I know the turmoil you're in. It's the closest thing to death. But you listen, most men won't get to where you are, and those that do, they will die before they bear the crown. You're not alone, Marvin, and I will not let you die before you bear your crown. And he walks away, and I'm all freaked out, worse than I was before. Those beautiful words like, okay, where am I? Who's gonna die? And how do I get out of this? And someone said to me, he's telling you you're in the tunnel. Well, what is the tunnel? Well, you have to listen to Alison Armstrong. I didn't know who she was. And I started listening to the stages of development of manhood. And I'm hearing about this page where men at a stage where you're like a baby and you want everyone to do everything for you. Your mother probably gave you in a motherly way so much care that, you know, you're looking for everybody to reflect your mother and just treating you like a baby and getting what you want. There are a lot of grown men on the planet like that today. And then the next stage is a night, and I won't bore you all with the different levels of a night, where you're just playing, you're having fun, you're slinging and enjoying yourself with no responsibility, no accountability. There are a bunch of men like that too. In the next stage, there are 3 levels of a prince. There's a early prince and a middle prince, and then there's this late prince. And the late prince is this individual who's dedicated himself to building something. He has his eye on a king. He has his eye on a kingdom. He has his eye on an empire. And he's learned things along the way, but it's not just about him. He doesn't have time to play around because he's hustling. Well, that was me. He was right. Yeah, you're a late prince. But I did not know what was waiting on me. So in order for a late prince to become king, to wear that crown, you got to go through this little experience that we call the tunnel. And in this tunnel, you start to lose faith in yourself, confidence. People betray you. You're hurting. You try things that you've done in the past, but it's no longer working. You feel alone. You have suicidal thoughts. And so I think about people like the guy who used to come on TV, the food guy, Anthony Bourdain, and I think about Robin Williams and Michael Jackson and Prince. I think about people who were in the tunnel. You're building, you care about people, you love people, you're sacrificing, you're putting on a show in front of everyone, but you're dying inside. And no one seems to understand, or no one even cares. You're just looking for one every day. Give me one reason to get to the next day. That's what the tunnel is like. Now, I know what it took to get what I was able to build. Why isn't it working now? So I got to the point of acceptance. I realized that I wasn't necessarily being resilient, I was being resistant. There's a difference. See, resilience, when you are going against something that's difficult because challenge is inevitable. And we heard that suffering is a choice. The suffering came about because I thought I was being resilient, pushing against something that wasn't moving. I was resisting the fact that I don't need to be doing this any longer. Apparently, that part of my cosmic curriculum, my life curriculum, was causing me to raise up in consciousness in another way of succeeding. That I've already passed that course. So if you're in the third grade, you don't stay there for another 10 years. You've gotten that lesson. You're holding yourself back when there's another grade that you need to go to. You keep doing the same lessons over and over and over again, but you're not getting the same results as you did before. Because you're no longer a third grader, Marvin. So everything that I did in the way of what I thought was resilience was resistance to moving forward, releasing, surrendering, letting go, and getting into acceptance. So through acceptance, I said, Marvin, what can you do now? I said, I can go into a state of gratitude. I have my health and my strength. I'm strong, right? I can keep my room clean. I can make my bed. I can turn the labels in the cabinet and make sure like I do in the grocery store. How many of us go into a grocery store and you see the labels are turned? You're not attracted to that. Maybe energetically, that's not a store that I want to shop in. So they keep everything nice and neat and orderly because they're appealing to the subconscious in an energetic pull, a magnetic pull when you see things in order. What is the first law of nature? Self-preservation, and then there's order. Order. So when you see order, you come to order. So I said, okay, well, let me just keep order around me. Keep everything neat. Now go and find something to be grateful for, even if it's the smallest thing. And then I began to question myself, like, what does that feel like? Joy. Okay, let joy be your thing. Every day I'm looking for joy. I wouldn't even get out of bed until I told myself today is my mission for joy. I don't know what's going to happen today. I have no control. Maybe I'll get another summons to go to court. You know, maybe someone will come and try to steal something from me again and do something horrible to me again. But I'm going to find joy today. That's my job. And I began looking at the flowers and I said, man, that's joy. And if there was a fragrance that came from it, that's joy. And I would hear the birds singing. I'm like, wow, that's joy. In the air, if it was a breeze or the raindrop, man, that is joy. And I turned everything into joy. Every day I would give myself a new high vibrational word that fit what I wanted to feel in an intent and purpose to fulfill. So whether it was joy or peace or ease or progress or satisfaction, relief, every day it became a word, and everything around me and all experience became that word, and that word became the energetic connection that I needed to align with. And I just did that every day. My writings, I would write down everything. This is my joy list. This is my satisfaction list. You write it out, you read it at night, and before you go to sleep, before you close out your conscious mind and you go into the subconscious mind, I've already seeded it with those words and the things that align from my day's experience with that word. And I just did that every day, and things started to open up. Wait a minute. Something's happening here. This is working. Oh, wow. Stay with it. Stay with it. Then it was no longer important about how much money I made, because my drive before was making money so that I would not be homeless again, so that I would not suffer again. But the conditions that I went through, even though it wasn't my own doing, obviously I chose that before I came to the planet. I didn't understand that at the time, but now I am responsible for my reality. Now I can choose joy. I can choose relief, regardless of the circumstances. No one has that kind of control over me anymore. Not money, not job, not title, not the courts, not the people that's trying to take that from me. This is innately inside of me. I own this. Now I truly am becoming God.
Yes.
My prayers started to change. I stopped asking for stuff. I stopped asking for relief and satisfaction and joy. I went to go and just say, hey, thank you. Let me be an instrument of joy, of peace, of love, of kindness, of satisfaction, of relief, of fulfillment. Use me as you do the other universal elements, the sun, the air, the water. Let me be the life, and energy in someone else's life. When Deepak says the secret of living is giving, and Tony Robbins, by the way, I'm sorry. In order to get what you want, you have to help someone else get what they want. Now that became my mission. So I started praying for the planet, Mother Earth, her land, her sea, her air, everything in existence, animate and inanimate, everything without exception. Unconditional love, golden light, peace in paradise. And everywhere I go, everything I wanted for myself, I projected it on humans, on things, on everything in nature. What was difficult and a struggle and a challenge before, it became an assignment to energize it with joy and love. The whole world began to open up again and things just started coming back. And then I said, okay, now I want to write a system here. Let me write all of this out, how I did this, right? Because I began to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm on to something now. Then another relationship comes, and I want to stay away from it because, okay, this is taboo. I got in a world of trouble the last time I tried this. This time I'm listening to me. So I'm not letting anybody talk me. It was too painful. So in the midst of this, I met someone that I wasn't looking for. And she was the female version of me. She was the reflection. I mean, man, you're talking not just the reflection, but the extension of me. And I was blown away. Gosh. And so her family dynamics was against the two of us coming together. And they fought day and night until they broke us up. Boy, was I hurt and devastated by that. But I had already was in a formula that I continue to work on. I'm not going to go back into thinking, okay, give me one reason to make it to the next day. No, I have a job here. I'm here. I don't like it. I'm hurt. But at least for the first time, and to this day, the only time I've ever experienced true and authentic love was in that relationship. I know what it feels like now. She is the most phenomenal, the most amazing human I had ever personally known. But I'm still in this tunnel. So as I'm moving along and I get this formula and I'm laying this out, there was a time that I had spent away from the Tony Robbins community. And his wife, my sister Sage, she said, "We miss you. Come home." I said, "Well, I'll go." And I'm there and I'm seeing everyone. It's like a homecoming. Tony and I, we embraced. God, both of us look like we're about to cry. And I was going to leave a couple days early. And as I'm walking out, the DJ of the event, he saw me and he just jumped off of his table area. And he comes over to me and he's hugging me. And then there's a woman that comes by. And I cannot tell you this part because you're going to enjoy this when you read the book. But I ended up meeting someone else. And how we met is just, it's made for movies. It's made for TV. Incredible. and so we connected. And I said to her, "Hey, listen, I've been through a lot. I'm still in it. I'm just a lot better. I don't want to go back. I really want to be with someone, but I want to make sure that the person that I'm with is going to be with me. I'm not a quitter. I don't quit. I don't give up. That maybe that's the athlete in me. So if you think that you're going to quit, because she said, I want to go everywhere you go, I want to be with you, and I'm committed, and I'm like, okay, I've heard all this kind of stuff before, but I'm going to trust you. Now, when I met her, even though I understood the formula I was working on, my nervous system was still wired for mistrust, for deceit, for struggle and pain. So I had changed it here, but I did not change it here. In some aspects, I was still operating on autopilot. So I later discovered that the subconscious is no longer here anymore. It's here. When you shift this, this has to shift. It has to be in alignment. Because the brain creates chemicals with every thought. There's a factory in there that produces a chemical that feeds the cells of the body, that talks to your nervous system, and it becomes like a broadcasting system, a Wi-Fi system that goes out into the universe, and it speaks to the creation of universe, and the ethers begin to bring about the material equivalent of that which you're thinking and you're feeling into your experience. I did not know that. So I meet this person, this wonderful person. She looked like a goddess, good Lord. And I'm attracted to her big time. But inside of me, in my second subconscious, my body, my nervous system, the cells of my body, I'm emanating out, projecting out this fear, this deceit. And I attracted someone who was the physical equivalent of what I was feeling inside and did not know it. I heard the words, I looked at the beauty, and I said, maybe this is the second coming of the person that I said was the most phenomenal human I'd ever known. But she happened to be the first person who would take me to the cleaners 2.0. In that experience, and I'm gonna land this ship because I've been talking like crazy, y'all. So, so in that experience, I had discovered that I had been wired from the time I was in my mother's womb until I was about 7 or 8 years old. I was already programmed for fear, deceit, mistrust. Also, I wanted the love of my mother. My mother loved me. She just made a transition a few months ago. And my mother did the best that she possibly could. That was a part of her cosmic curriculum, is to come here and do exactly what she did. My mother told me she had an alcohol issue. And she said to me, the more you tell me not to drink, the more it makes me want to drink. This is what I do. My mother was an alcoholic. My father was an alcoholic. Everybody in the family is alcoholic, and I'm one. And she said, that's just the way it's going to be. You need to take yourself out of the suffering over what I do with my life. And it freed me. It freed me because I realized I wanted my mother to do something that I wanted for me, thereby infringing upon the fulfillment of her life's curriculum that I didn't understand at that time. Who wouldn't want a mother's love? To say, baby, it's going to be okay. To tell you where you're going to eat and sleep at night. To make sure that you get all the nourishment that you possibly need. That could talk to me about if I meet a little girl and she talks to me and help me along the way. Who wouldn't want that? All of my friends and my family members had it. Marvin just didn't have it. And I wanted it in my mother. So I fought like crazy. Whatever I needed to do to rescue my mother so she could be a mother to me like everybody else had a mother. I didn't realize that when I became an adult, I was still trying to rescue my mother in women. So I would attract women that needed to be rescued. Wasn't their fault. They took advantage of me because of their own experiences, their own suffering. They were hurting and in pain. And I drew them to me. Not only as a lesson to them, but to myself. And with that last relationship, I realized that there was one other program that I did not deactivate, and the reason I wasn't completely out of the tunnel after she had left. I wound up in the hospital. Now, I had never been in the hospital a day in my life. Let me tell you all something. This hand right here, I can count on this hand right here how many times I've even had a common cold. I've never been in nothing. I eat right. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't chase women and I don't chase men. I live as righteous of a life as I possibly can. I'm not holy. I'm not holy, but I damn sure am righteous. I will do the right thing, whether a person agrees with it or not, whether they understand it or not, whether they know the difference between truth and integrity or not. I am righteous. And I talk about truth and integrity in the book. There is a difference. I go through coherence, fulfillment, time, and I dedicate this thing called divine essence to women. I realized those women didn't intend to hurt me. I drew them to me because I needed to deactivate this program that I didn't know was hidden in my subconscious. The subconscious in my mind that we buried so deep that we don't even realize that it's there anymore. We don't know that it ever existed, but it's inside of the body. And when I wound up in this hospital, I'm sitting in this hospital and I realized that I don't have anybody to call in case of an emergency. Not a person on the planet. And I'm weeping, and I hadn't cried since the police had their gun on the back of my head. And I'm just weeping. And I called her, I texted her and I said, hey, listen, I'm in the hospital. They say that there's something going on with my heart. They said it felt like it was a steel plate behind my heart, and that where it's supposed to be the smooth circles when they put you on the EKG, they do the EKG. They said mine had spikes. And they wanted to know, what is it that you do for a living? Well, I talk for a living. I don't do anything. Right? I breathe for a living. So I reached out to her and she never responded. The next time I heard from her, she said, hey, I left the boots that you bought me. Can you send them to me? That was her response. No, I'm sorry, what's going on? None of that. I was so hurt. And I sat on that hospital bed and I pulled out my cell phone and I wrote something called Divine Essence. Tez, I think I read that to you.
You did?
I sat there on that
Incredible.
phone and I wrote, I just poured my heart out. I don't know if I had to do that a million times, if I could ever do that again. But I poured my heart into this key, this life force takeaway at the end of my book called Divine Essence. And then I checked myself out of the hospital. They said, you shouldn't go. I said, no, I got it from here. I'm free. I know what it is. I didn't do nothing to you. I didn't do anything to any of you. And they know it. See, there ain't a whole lot of Marvins out there hanging around in the corner. I'm going to do the right thing no matter how I feel. Even those that hurt me and did bad things to me, I'm still your servant. The sun shines on us right now, we're sitting here together and we are doing something positive and we get the benefit of the sun, but somebody out here in the world is doing something right now that is unsavory and they still have the benefit of the sun. They still have the benefit of the air that we breathe. I am made up of these universal elements. Every atom of my being is of that which is in our universe. What makes me so different that I can't serve those even if I disagree with their behavior? And at that point, I realized that we truly are one. So everything that I thought that I was doing, it all comes back into recognizing the fact that there is no separation. There are no boundaries. There are no limitations. What I do for you, I do for myself and vice versa. Without you, I don't exist. Without me, you don't exist. So I forgive. I move forward and I serve and I love. Now, let me say this too. You can love people unconditionally, but some people got to love from a distance. Let's get that straight. Yes, I won't allow you to hurt me, but I will be your servant as long as you're here, as long as I have the resources, the opportunity, the access to serve you in some way without you hurting me. I'm going to continue to serve. That is for every person that have ever done anything to me, regardless of how you feel about me, regardless of what you think about me. Because deep in your heart, every person on the planet, I can proudly say this. I have never been in a company of a person that I deliberately hurt and took from and robbed and left them in a worse condition than they were before I met them. Every person that have ever come in my presence, I've served them to some capacity with the best that I possibly can. Whether they like it or not, whether they want to admit it or not, but every person on the planet that have ever graced Marvin Peake, I served you with my honor and my love and my commitment, the best that I possibly can. I've been a friend and a confidant, and I hang my hat on that. And I knew at this point here, I don't need to be anybody's coach. I don't need to be anybody's leader. I am a standard and a standard bearer, an example of what you can do. I am an example that shines like the sun in the sky, that if you want it, you can come and get it. But you have a responsibility and an obligation to dedicate yourself to being a standard to yourself and to those that are around you. Thank you all. I talk so much, I'm gonna be quiet now.
Oh, Marvin. Yes, people clapping. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now everyone in this room that I've talked to about you knows why I love you so much. You're just my soul brother. You know it. And I almost don't have words, but to be able to laugh, that joy that you bring, you speak truth to power, just so extraordinarily well. And you are that example, that model. And your book, Out of the Tunnel, I think you'll give us even more of that formula, as well as these incredible stories. When you and I have talked about these folks who have come into your life that you've attracted to you without ever looking for it, asking for it, those names that we know so well, because they are quote unquote leaders in our unity of consciousness and in our work for peace. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I think I'm going to give you an opportunity in a little bit for any closing remarks, anything that you think you'd like to leave us with. But at this point, with this group we have, I'd like to open it up and ask if anyone has any questions. And let me get us into gallery here so that we can see you. And oh my goodness, I so love your energy, your passion, your wisdom, and just who you are is just an inspiration. So who has a question? Yes, Robert, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Great. Thank you, Tez. And Marvin, wow. Incredible message. You did talk a lot, but I listened to every word that you said. And I was holding back my tears
Yes.
at a couple of points, right now, actually, too. I really identified and resonated with a lot of what you said. And the story is different than mine, but yet it's the same. I'm not asking for things, and they're coming to me. And I truly believe it's because I'm trying to give it away.
Yeah.
I don't, it's easy to say, but not always easy to do. But I truly believe that's a core value of mine. Hasn't always been that way, but it's been that way for, I don't know, about 4 or 5 years now, when I was really trying to get out of the corporate world and the grind and, what there's more in life and what is it. And I've had a long journey too, and hasn't always been easy. But now it's about giving it back and not expecting anything. And something you said was, that's how you achieve things, is when you give it away and you help someone get something, then you get something.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I thank you from all of my being in my universe that I live in and that we share together amongst all of us here. It's a truly amazing group of people here. Thank you for speaking, and I look forward to reading your book, Marvin.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. So kind. Thank you. Blessings.
And Robert is one of our Pathways to Peace representatives to the UN. And so thank you, Robert. Who else has a question? Yes, Scott, one of my dear colleagues, Scott. Scott is engaged in accelerating unity consciousness, among many other things. So, Scott.
Hello, Marvin.
Hey, how are you, Scott?
What a profound pleasure to meet you.
Oh, it's mine.
Profound. You are a genuine force of nature.
Yes.
Your ability to align with the love in your heart and to express that so powerfully, I got that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I hear the Tony Robbins in your voice. You are a commanding speaker. So my question is, I'd love to hear you chat a little bit more about Mother Earth and this extraordinary moment we're all experiencing right now, where our passion for our sense of individuation and separation and me is our song. Help me to be a better communicator about what's going to help shift that.
Yes. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. When I look at Mother Earth, I believe it's 1,960,000 square miles of this planet Earth, and everything has a purpose. Mother Earth may not necessarily speak English or whatever language of our homeland, but it speaks vibration. There's a frequency. When we place ourselves in a higher frequency that reflects what nature gives to us, what Mother Earth gives to us, it responds in like kind. I think we are moving towards this critical mass now, that this major shift is actually taking place as we speak. I believe that Mother Earth is going into a new dimension. And those of us humans who will take the ride as we transmute into this next dimension, we will have to be in alignment of that frequency. What is that frequency? It is love, peace, truth, freedom, reverence, cooperation, sharing, harmony. Anything outside of those higher frequencies that we practice and make our way of life, I don't believe will be permitted into this next dimension. We're leaving from a lower tier of consciousness into a higher tier of consciousness. So everything that we think, say, and do has to be for the benefit, not only for ourselves and those that are around us, all of humanity beyond borders and everything in existence. It was Les Brown. I was speaking at I did a thing not long ago in Vegas, and I heard Les Brown say that the way we live our life is our gift to God. What I like to add to that, our great pioneer of motivational and inspirational speaking, is that how we live our life is our gift to God, but it's also our gratitude to God. How we thank God, universe, source, whatever we believe that keeps us in existence, how we live our life is our gift and our gratitude. When we can stay in that state, that if you're driving a car, you're walking down the street, or you're having a conversation, or you're just listening to someone, if you're in any capacity, how am I showing up as light, life, and energy for this experience? Because I'm checking what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling. Just think about this. Was it Emoto Marasu, the hidden messages in water?
Water.
Where he took water and he's able to freeze it to see how the water takes shape over the environment and the words that we say. You say love and you get this beautiful crystal, and then you say hate and it's some kind of ripped up kind of messy thing. What that taught me was that my thoughts and my words and the energy that I'm projecting in any moment of the day, because I am made up of 75% water, all of us are, then the water inside of us is making crystals to my thoughts and my words and my behavior towards you. See, in any moment, I'm either giving you life or taking that away, adding value or extracting value. So my job to Mother Earth and everything that she's given life to is to make sure that I'm in alignment with the frequency of unconditional love and servitude, of peace and harmony, because the waters inside you is being shaped by my presence in your life. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful, Marvin. Dr. Emoto. Yes. So, yes, David.
Wow. Wow, in many, many ways. What you express, the insight, the knowledge, the self-awareness, the self-knowledge is exquisite and powerful, and is who we all are. And the honesty and the courage to express that honesty is so important and so needed, and you live that. This is really quite mind-boggling that you have selected Pathways to Peace to come into partnership with, to move forward in the world. And the frequency, I mean, exactly what you're saying. We are evolving in our consciousness, in our frequency, in the energetic and to be aware of that, but to speak the truth of that takes courage. I just thank you for that. And the deeper question would be, how you see us moving forward as an organization to show and express and be examples of that.
Thank you so much, dear brother. We selected each other, and I believe that this was a part of our collective cosmic curriculum, written before we actually got here, that we would come together. Thank you for allowing me to be your servant. I see that we are a part of that critical mass. I see us. I love the name Pathways to Peace. Let me tell you something. I said, okay, I could give to one of my own charities, but I want to be a part of a charity that reflects the work on a scale and reaches people that I have not yet been able to reach, that is already there, that are already aligned frequency-wise to where I am. The name itself, because people talk about peace, but do we really understand peace? Do we really have peace as a normal way of our living? Most people that I've encountered, they may talk about it, they may want it, maybe they've had some experiences with it, but it has not been sustainable. And that is because they've never had a pathway to it. The name itself, immediately, that was the wake-up call that you've done all of this to this point. You graduated, you finally got your little self out of the third grade. There's a higher grade there that's called Pathways to Peace that we've been preparing you for. And so to move towards that, you move towards that and realize that the cornerstone of this new foundation, as we transmute the kingdom of heaven and the experience of heaven for everything in existence, starts with that cornerstone of this new critical mass that I truly believe it comes through Pathways to Peace.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
thank you. What a journey.
There are so many stories that could be shared, so many incredible people that have shared who they are in support of you, Marvin. And I just want to say that please invite, if you haven't already, invite others to the second conversation, which is a repeat, but honestly will never be a repeat because we never know what's going to come through the heart. And so please invite others. It's at 7 p.m. tonight, Eastern time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. We've already had some folks let us know that they couldn't make it to this one, but are coming to that one. But you can see and feel and hear and know how our beloved community needs this wisdom and shares it. I mean, we are in conversation all the time together about accelerating oneness consciousness. And Marvin and I get to have those conversations, not nearly as often as both of us would like, but we get to have those conversations. So in closing, please invite others to the same Zoom room to have a conversation with Marvin tonight. And I'm going to ask Marvin if he has any closing remarks, anything that's on your heart to say that you haven't yet had an opportunity to say, Marvin.
And then also with Joni.
Yeah, I'm going to bring Joni in at the end.
Yeah, well, don't get me started again. So I'm going to be quick. I thank you all for having me. It's certainly an honor, a privilege, a pleasure to serve you in this way. And I look forward to other opportunities that I may serve and support, because I truly believe in the work. And, being a standard and a standard bearer of organizations and individuals living out their purpose is what I see that you represent. And I'm grateful, so grateful for your existence. Now, the book, I encourage that things that I did not say that I would not say. There's some real treats in there. I was tempted a couple of times to say a few things, but please tell other people, go and pre-order the book. Please pre-order the book, because we have some plans, and I have a program called the Ultimate Empowerment Program. It's a virtual program that the things that I gave an overview on, I give detail on how to do that. Intentionalizing and physicalizing, magnetism, visualizing, emotionalizing, all of these things. And I break all of this stuff down, the functionality of the brain and the nervous system and how you can do this. And I'll tell you this, we love books. I'll continue to read books and go to programs. But after this program and this book, I guarantee you, you will never have to read another book or pay money to go to another program. I put everything in there. Some of my friends may be upset because they know this, but they've never taught it to you. I'm giving it up. We're going to set the world free.
That sounds great, Marvin. And we'll be, of course, sending out information on that program when you're ready to give it to us. We can't wait.
Absolutely. It's as soon as you pre-order, some of that information comes up because we're going to give away the program to certain folks who pre-order the book, along with some other neat gifts. But it's a 7-day program, and I packed everything in it. Everything I did in the tunnel to get myself out of the tunnel, the deactivating all of those programs that I didn't know were there. And I'm telling you, I didn't know that I wasn't happy before. I had fleeting moments of happiness, fleeting moments of joy. So I thought I confused pleasure with joy. And then I realized there's a difference here.
Yes.
So for the first time in my life, gosh, I live with joy. I am happy.
Yes.
You know, and I have the power to do it. And I want to give this and share this with the world that, listen, you can be joyful and happy and not be dependent on any external force to give it to you. Thank you all so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Marvin. Oh my gosh, we're so deeply grateful. I'm going to give the final words to Joni. She told me it was going to be brief. So go ahead, Joni.
Well, I just am deeply grateful and blown away by your candor, your spirit, your passion. I mean, it just goes deep into my heart. Thank you, Marvin. And I would be happy to share with you the book about Pathways to Peace. If you would give Hezekiah your address, and we'll be happy to send it to you so you know a little bit about our history. And I know that our dear Avon, my co-founder, the spirit of Pathways to Peace, is shining brightly today as she listens to your wisdom and your magnificence. Thank you.
Thank you, Joni.
I'd like, at the book launch, I'd like to get some copies of Pathways to Peace so that we can promote that on the launch days as well.
Great.
Yours.
Perfect.
We'll make that happen.
Go ahead, Joni.
I just said we'll make that happen.
Absolutely. And it is so. So in closing, just thank you for being here. I know your hearts are open, touched, and inspired. And we look forward to working with you in the future. Everyone here is close. We're all close. And so we get to work with each other all the time, which is beautiful. And remember, every one of you is a pathway to peace. Every single one of you is a pathway to peace. And don't forget to register for World Unity Week. Pathways to Peace will be there in the May Peace Prevail on Earth room. And we've got a few presentations that you'll be hearing a little bit about. It starts this weekend. It's not too late to register. World Unity Week. Thank you, all of you. We are grateful for each and every one of you. And Marvin, oh, thank you.
Thank you. Blessings.